Hello there everyone, my name is Billy and let's talk books. So today we have a very special video. I'm going to be doing my very first reading vlog, which is really fun. I'm actually coming to you at the end of the project because I have already read the book and realised that I didn't film an introduction to this video. So you will see me and then you will see my clips and then you will come back to this me, I guess. Recently I've been doing a Goodreads Choice Awards challenge where I've been reading the winner and then also my personal choice from every single category from the Goodreads Choice Awards 2025. And then I've been kind of like pitting them against each other to see whether Goodreads or me have a better taste in books. But while I was doing that challenge, I came across the winner of the Romantasy genre, and that happened to be Onyx Storm, which is book 3 in a trilogy. And I had not read the first 1 or 2 books in the series. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I'll read the first book of any sequels that win. And that so happened to be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and of course I had heard of Fourth Wing before, but I have not picked it up. I know that it is kind of like one of the big giants in the romantasy genre, and I have not read any romantasy up until this point in my life. Well, I have now because I've read 2, but before this challenge, I had not read any romantasy. I've been a little bit out of the loop with more popular fiction and I hadn't really caught onto the wave of romantasy yet. So when I realised that this was going to be the book that I was reading, I thought to myself, you know what, this is a big monumental moment for me. This is my foray into the romantasy genre as a whole. This is me reading a huge, widely popular series for the first time. And why don't I supplement my actual video, which I will link in the description below. You can go watch that if you want just a few thoughts on this book as well as many other books. But how about I supplement that with an entire reading vlog of my experience reading Fourth Wing for the first time. I'm not going to tell you anything yet about what I thought about this novel. I will just tell you how I felt going into it. I was a bit apprehensive because I love fantasy, but I'm not too much of a romance reader. So I was a bit apprehensive. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, whether I was going to vibe with it or it was going to kind of click with me. I knew that Fourth Wing was basically about dragons, a school setting, and there was some spicy, steamy scenes. That was kind of all I knew about it. I have heard so many things about it though. I know so many people that love it. I know so many people that think it's overhyped. So it was kind of like 50-50, I think, whether I'm going to like this. So I'm going to jump straight into it. You will see the clips of me throughout my reading process of Fourth Wing, and then we'll come back up for an overview of the process. So I will see you in a bit. So I'm coming to you with my first reading update on Fourth Wing, where I'm about 100 pages into it so far. I'm having an actual blast reading this. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I went into it feeling a little bit like, I'm not like judgmental because I felt like I would enjoy it, but I had this kind of idea in my head that romantasy didn't have too much intricate plot or world building or pace to it. I felt like it was just going to be purely romance heavy. However, I'm like about 100 pages in, like I say, and romance hasn't been like the main focus at all, which I do really enjoy. Like, I want romance, but I don't want too much. I also want like a story that I can get invested in and a plot that I can follow and really enjoy. So far I'm really impressed. I feel like Rebecca Yarros' writing is actually very good. It's like a lot better than I thought it would be. Like, it feels very fast paced, it's dramatic, it has a lot of lore, the world feels very lived in to me, and yeah, it's just really fun so far. I'm getting that like same nostalgic feeling that I had when I was reading like The Hunger Games or Divergent, or, you know, just some of these series that just feel kind of like they're gonna be bestsellers. Like, it has that something, that it factor about it that just feels like it would have universal appeal, and so far I'm having a great time. Like, I'm genuinely having such a blast with this. The main character as well, Violet, I just love her. I think she's spunky, she's interesting, she has a lot of like great character traits. I really like this inclusion of her physical disability and her difficulties surrounding how breakable her bones are and how easily injured she becomes and how much more difficult she finds things than a lot of people. And the fact that she's going into this setting, like, I just think it's a really interesting thing to have your main character and your protagonist to suffer with and go through and have to deal with. So I'm really enjoying that, and I like her spunk. Like, she doesn't give me that, oh, she's just good at everything vibe. She gives me very much this feeling of she's going to try her best no matter what, and she's not going to let anybody make her feel like she's not capable and she's not worthy. There have been a few scenes where I just really love her drive and her ambition, her spunk, and I also think she's just silly and funny. Like, she has a lot where she's quite goofy and silly and like doesn't take herself seriously. She makes lighthearted jokes, but she's also very intelligent and quick, which I enjoy. So I'm really liking her so far. In terms of what has happened in the plot, so at this point she's having to go into the rider's quadrant. So she basically is entering into like the most dangerous part of the academy, even though she wanted to be a scribe, but her mother is like the general, so she's forcing her to take this path because as a sorangale you have to prove yourself, and her mother won't have it any other way. So I'm really not liking her mother so far. She's the worst, but I loved her sister. I thought she was great. Mira, really enjoyed her as well. And yeah, it's just so fast paced. Like, from chapter 1 I was hooked and I just wanted to keep reading and reading and reading, and so far I'm just along for the ride. It feels so fun, so engaging, and so like fast paced. The setup to everything as well has been really cool. It's like the stakes are really high in terms of this dragon riding and the school, and like so many of them die. It's a really risky thing. But then she also has a friend who is already there in the second year, and she kind of has a crush on this friend and has grown up with him. So I like that that's there. Also this idea that like, oh, any of the older boys are totally off limits. That's fun because, again, it gives it kind of like this forbidden feel, these stakes to it. Also, I made a note that Dylan is definitely going to die because he just said, well, I'm not going to die. And I was like, well, he's definitely going to die then. And then he literally dies straight away in the very first trial. And I know that it's tragic and I shouldn't find it funny, but I found it very funny. I just laughed out loud when I read that because I was like, well, of course. Like, of course. Also, Rhiannon, really enjoy Rhiannon. I'm glad that she is making friends already, and I think that really tells us a lot about her character and who she is, because she's been advised, don't make friends, it's just about alliances, but she traded her boot with Rhiannon to kind of help her out and is already trusting her and making a friend, and I think that just tells you a lot about her character. Like, she can't do that because she's a good person and she wants to help others and she wants to trust people and make friends, and I really like that about her character. I liked the introduction of Xaden as well. He seems very like forbidden in that way, like off limits. He's quite an arrogant and imposing figure. I liked the way he was described as well. Like, it didn't feel cringy to me. She was like, oh my god, he's so hot, he might be the most beautiful guy I've ever seen, and it was just silly and goofy, and it did feel like realistic to how somebody of that age would think. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. I want to know why the story is being told, because like the foreword is kind of that this has been translated from like Navarian or something, whatever their language is, and the names have been preserved to honour those who have fallen. So I'm like, okay, well then who's writing this story and why are they writing it? And I want to know more about that. I also love the introduction before each chapter of like a section of text. So it might be from the rule book or from somebody's musings or something, but it just, again, gives that very lived in quality to the world. So it feels like, oh, well, there are so many books in this world that have been written, and there's so much to this academy, and there's so much history and life and lore. So that just, again, makes it feel super engaging and like I'm really believing it. I'm right there. Also, this might be the best introduction of world building that I've ever seen. So when she's walking along the parapet and it's like windy and raining and like loads of people are falling to their death, and her way of keeping calm is to recite facts about the history to herself because she's a scribe. She likes kind of facts and figures, and obviously she needs to distract herself. And I just thought that was so clever. Like, what an inventive way of telling your reader about the history and the lore with it being really relevant to a plot that is going on right now. Like, it's not boring. It's not just this side note, oh, this happened and this happened. Like, it has purpose, it has meaning, so I loved that. And also there was another part that did a similar thing with her brother's journals. So her brother's obviously died, but he went to the school and he left this journal for her sister, who's now passing it on to her. And he's kind of giving his insider knowledge to what's going on. So you kind of get a bit more history and world building there. So just some really inventive ways of telling us about the world and about the school and what's happening. And genuinely, I was like on the edge of my seat when I was reading her crossing that parapet. Like the way the writing was formed, the imagery, and just like the feeling, I felt genuinely like terrified. I felt like I was there. I could like hear the wind crashing and the rain falling on her face and slipping over, and just this feeling of like, not only did she have to cross the parapet and she could fall to her death, it's windy and it's raining. She has so much to prove. She's struggling with her own health. This asshole behind her is like chasing after her. He's like a psychopath and he's wanting to kill her. So there's just so intense. It was like, oh my God, what is going to happen? I mean, I knew she was going to live because she's the main character, but like I was genuinely on the edge of my seat. I felt so immersed and so present, and I just honestly, I'm having a blast. I'm loving the characters. I really like the introduction of the like potential love interests. So far, I'm kind of open to both. I think that, what's his name? Is it Dane? I really liked him at first and I was like, yeah, totally shipping them. And I literally made a note of like, oh, I love them together. I love the idea of like childhood friends that could be more. But then like his obsession with kind of getting her out of the Riders Quadrant, I know it's to protect her, but it almost has that feeling of like, oh, he won't let her make her own choices and live up to her potential, and this is what she's chosen, so he needs to find a way to assist with that and believe in her. Whereas it feels a bit more like he's like, no, you can't do this, and I don't want to see you die, so, you know, like, I get it, and I don't think it's a bad thing on him necessarily, but I think that it could snowball and get much worse. And then you've got Xaden, and to be honest, like, I love the setup of that. Like, they are born to be rivals, their families killed each other, they were on opposing sides, and now they're just like completely not meant to be together. It's supposed like, I love enemies to lovers, and this very much feels like an enemies to lovers, so I'm enjoying that. Plus, he just seems kind of badass. I like his description. I loved the moment where Violet finally got over the parapet and Jack was chasing her, and it was so intense, and then she finally got through and she just turns around with her knife and like holds it at him, and I was just like, fucking yes. Because when I was reading it, I was so much like, oh my God, you better punch the absolute daylights out of him when you get to safety. And then she turned around with a knife and I was like, even better, like, thank you. Do not let him make you feel like a victim. Like, I was so on board for that. I love her character. I think she's great. I think there can be a few silly things, like the names of the wings, the fourth wing, the fire, and the names of certain dragons. Like, I think there was like Daggertail, and like I think they can be a bit simplistic and a bit silly and goofy, but like I'm willing to look past that because, like I say, I do think there's some interesting world building. I like the map of the school and the world and the different provinces and the two sides and the borders. Like, it's well done, and I'm really enjoying that because obviously as a lover of fantasy, I really enjoy a very picturesque world that I can fully imagine, and this is getting there. Like, it feels very much like there's been a lot of thought that's gone into it, which I'm really appreciating. I so wanted Violet to get that really terrifying blue dragon. I was like, yeah, I want her to have that one. Like, I know it's cliche, she gets the biggest and baddest and most powerful dragon, but I don't care, I want it anyway. But then I found out it was Xaden's and I was like, oh, that's annoying. But I don't know, I just really like the idea of her being a character that maybe is a bit of an underdog, but she has a lot of bravery. Like, despite everything, she is still giving her everything and not backing down, and I feel like that is so much more brave than somebody who is just naturally gifted, naturally strong, naturally powerful, trained for years, you know? So I don't know, I'm just really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the characters, the world, the pacing. It feels very nostalgic. I'm fully on board at this point. I did have one question though, like, if they are so against the children of the rebels and they mark them and punish them, like, why would they conscript them to the most elite, powerful force in their army? Like, the Dragon Riders, right? They're known as being the most powerful, the most elite. They develop magical powers. They have dragons that are bonded to them. Like, why would you chance people who you think are rebels gaining access to your, like, nuclear weapon? I don't really understand this. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's wrong to punish the children of rebels, but like, why would this society, who is clearly very prejudiced against these children, give them access to this power? Like, that doesn't make too much sense to me. Also, I'm really enjoying the like light-hearted, playful it feels flirty, but like I guess maybe it's not yet, but it does feel like it's building to something between Violet and Xaden. Like there's this moment when they're all lining up and he's kind of like glaring at her, so she like tilts her chin up to show him that she's not like intimidated by him, and that's when he like smirks and like switches her squad, so she's no longer in second wing, she moves to fourth wing. And I was like, that's funny. That's funny. I love that. What a power move. I'm just really enjoying it. I want to know what happens. I don't really understand Jack as a character yet. I feel like he's a bit over the top of a villain, like, and he's just immediately singled out Violet and is like, oh, I'm going to kill you. I hate you. And he like chased after her. Like, I know he like pushed somebody off the parapet, like just because, and then he like snapped somebody's neck. So I guess he's just a psychopath, but like, why is he full of so much hatred for Violet in particular? That doesn't make too much sense. Maybe he sees her as a threat because of who she is. But I'm hoping we get a bit more in his character, because so far he's just a bit of a one-dimensional villain. I'm also not too sure on these ideas of powers that the dragons give them. Like, some of them seem a little bit lame and a little bit like convenient almost. Like, oh, you can see the outcome of a battle before it happens. Like, that feels a bit convenient. I'm not really sure how the bonding with the dragons works and how the magic works. So I want to know a bit more about that, because we haven't obviously really seen dragons or anything like that yet. So I'm interested to know a bit more about the dragons. I hope that we see more of them soon. And yeah, I'm just loving being in this like academic setting as well. I think it's super fun. I genuinely have no idea how Violet is going to survive this though. Like, she does not scream warrior to me. Like, she does. She really does. And that's why I love her, because she's so brave and smart and capable and resilient as well. And I love that about her. But at the same time, I'm like, she doesn't give me those vibes of a fighter or a violent person. Like, so I don't know, I guess we'll see how it goes. Like, I don't think I've read a book in such a long time that's giving me this kind of like teenage, I have to keep reading, and like I'm chuckling away and I'm super invested and I'm on the edge of my seat. This is exactly kind of what I was looking for when I said that like I've been in academia for so long and I want to read for fun again, and I want to discover worlds and characters that just completely give me pure escapism. And this so far is the one that's really doing it for me. Like, who would have thought Fourth Wing, the absolute darling of Romantasy, is going to be the one that like sucks me back in? But it really feels like reading as a teenager again. I'm loving it. I'm having the best time and I just want to keep reading. So that's what I'm going to do, and I will update you again soon. Okay, so I'm coming to you with another update. I've read like another 100 pages, I think, and I'm still so into it. I'm having the best time. I'm also really enjoying Xaden's character. I think that like, I always kind of enjoy the trope of having a bit of a bad boy, but I never want them to be too bad. Like, you always want them to kind of have redeeming qualities, and maybe they're not quite as bad as you think at first. And I think that this is what's happening with Xaden. Like, he seems like he's a much nicer guy than maybe we or Violet thought that he was at first. And I'm finding her like attraction to him to be really funny and just silly as well. I'm enjoying that she doesn't want to be attracted to him, but obviously she can't help it, so that's fun. I can definitely see where like the novel is going as well with their dynamic. So you've got like Dane, who is protective of her and wants her to be safe, but is maybe holding her back and preventing her from actually growing. And then you have Xaden, who is like, well, let me help you figure out what it is you need to figure out so that you can get better. And when you compare the two of them, I mean, I think it's pretty clear which one you would prefer. Like, you would want the person that encourages you to grow and doesn't kind of just keep you stagnated out of their own personal reasons. And don't get me wrong, I do understand Dane to a certain extent. Like, if I was in his position, this is something Violet never actually wanted. She didn't see herself as being a rider. She wanted to be a scribe, and she's had like difficulty in the past. She's in a lot of pain and she struggles a lot more than other people do. So I can understand why Dane is kind of so desperate to keep her safe, especially because he's known us for such a long time. But at a certain point, like, you have to listen to what other people are telling you and not make it about yourself. And I think this is what he's not doing. He's just so obsessed with this idea that she can't do it and she's gonna fail, that he's not encouraging her. And that's really unfortunate, because she's doing such a fantastic job. Like, at the end of the day, it is a difficult place to be in, but she's doing brilliantly. So his lack of like faith in her is definitely way worse than how Zayden's approaching it. Also, my previous question about like why would they let them to this part of the school has been kind of answered, because it basically says that like the dragons are very smart and they're very loyal to this region, so there's no way that they would bond with somebody that was a threat. So that kind of answers my question there, I suppose. Reading as well, I was just like, I really want her to get the black dragon now, because at first I wanted her to get the blue one and that wasn't allowed. So now I'm like, yeah, I want her to get the black dragon. She'll somehow convince him to bond because he doesn't want to bond. And also Barlow was like desperate to get the black dragon, so I think that would just be another kick in the teeth for Barlow. And I was like, yes, I want her to get the black dragon. The gauntlet just seemed absolutely crazy. I ended up looking up some kind of like artwork of the gauntlet so I could see what it looked like, and oh my god, that just looks so difficult. And especially for Violet, like I was really rooting for her to find a way, an alternative way. And I love what she ended up doing. She like came up with a few workarounds, like using the tools around her of the rope to help her get up the chimney section of it. And then when she couldn't run up the wall, she used her knife to like pull her over. And I just love how innovative she is, the way that she can come up with workarounds. And I know Amber was very much like, oh, you're breaking the rules. And she knew that Dane would be the same way, because a lot of people are so set in tradition and it has to be a certain way. And I really like this commentary here, because I feel like the narrative is kind of giving us this idea that, well, if life isn't stacked in your favor, and if there's certain things and regulations that don't work for you for a certain reason, then you can come up with adjustments and you can come up with ways to make it more manageable for you. And that's just a great conversation on kind of disability and maybe illness or health or whatever it might be. Like, there are ways that you can come up with adjustments so that that person can be just as capable and able to succeed, but you just have to put a few different things in place for them. And I love that. I thought that was great. I was really, really sad about Aurelie's death though. That was terrible, because she was so excited and she was having such a fun time, and she seemed to really enjoy being here, and like it was just so sudden that she just fell and she was dead, and that was crazy. And I really was agreeing with Violet's commentary on just how ruthless it is, where you die and your name is read out and you're burnt or buried or whatever it is, and then you're just forgotten, and it's just one of those things. And what a tragedy. Like I feel like so many of the kids have already died, and it's like they're losing out some of their like greatest people because of these really dangerous trials and challenges. It feels like such a waste of life. And like I felt that way about the gauntlet as well. Like there's no escape clause. You just either figure out how to do it or you die trying. And I was thinking like, okay, but how is that going to work if they don't manage it? Like, if they can't get up and succeed in the gauntlet, what, are they just going to be executed? It's crazy that they don't have like an escape clause. And again, they kind of explain it in the way that's like, well, this is the skills that you need to be able to balance on your dragon, and these are the skills that you need to mount and things like this. But I feel like there should be an option to leave and to go into one of the other services, because you're just losing more men. Like they could go into infantry or be scribes or provide a different service. And, you know, if they die whilst they're trying to succeed and it's an accident or whatever, then okay, they knew it was a dangerous thing. But in this regard, it's like, surely people should be able to go, do you know what? I've changed my mind. I feel like that should be allowed. I'm loving Violet though. I think that she's so capable and cunning and really brave. And I just think she's a great protagonist. I really enjoy the way that she thinks. She's funny, she's quirky, but she's different, and she embraces that and finds ways around it. I really like that the narrative is also encouraging this idea that you don't have to be a specific thing or the way that everyone else is. You can be different and you can have your own struggles, and that doesn't mean that you will be any less capable. Actually, it might mean that you have things that other people don't. So I like that message. I will say though, I feel like everything is happening a lot quicker than I thought it would. I kind of thought that threshing would be the end of year one. Like that's when you get your dragon, you train for the year, and then eventually you bond with a dragon or you don't. But it's all happening super, super quickly. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like in one way, the pacing is great and there's always something new to think about. But then in another way, I'm like, oh, I wish I could see more about their classes and more of the school setting and just the day-to-day interactions between the people. I'm not losing out on too much, but I guess I'm just really enjoying my time here, that it feels really fast paced. I'm getting super intrigued as well by the dragon lore and how the dragons think, how they make decisions, what their kind of rules are, because how do they determine who is worthy and who is not worthy? I want to know a bit more about the inner workings of dragons, and I suppose the humans aren't really supposed to know, so maybe we'll never find out, but I would be interested too. When we got the introduction of the feather-tailed dragon as well, the little golden one, I was so sad about the way they were all talking about it, like, oh, this is weak, this one's small and it's ugly, oh, it should just die. I was like, who are you? Shut up, you know nothing. Be quiet, don't speak about a majestic creature in that way. It made me so sad. I was like, if this dragon is understanding, how terrible. Like, shut up, you puny humans. I was sad that the dragon didn't just incinerate some of them, to be honest. But talking of incinerating, I was very happy when Luca got incinerated later on, because I was just like, yeah, deserved. Like, you were being annoying, you were being insufferable. But then I also was thinking, like, how on earth could Jack Barlow survive this presentation when he's walking along and being presented to the dragons? Like, surely at least one of them would have found him completely insufferable and gotten rid of him. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, he's the worst. But I guess they value, like, strength and psychopathy, I suppose, for, like, the most accurate way of killing. It was so intense when those green dragons came up and started sniffing her and stuff. I was like, oh my god, don't move. But the way that Violet, again, was just very casual, had conversations, kind of spoke to the dragons, like she's not intimidated by them. She has this kind of presence about herself where she is scared and she does understand the danger of things, but at the same time, she's able to just keep calm and be very casual and normal and just kind of interact with the dragons like she would anyone else, and I really enjoy that. Oh yeah, that was another thing. There was a mention in it of like the months, like February, March, and also like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I was kind of like, why would they keep our time scales? Like, is that a thing that happens in fantasy? Has it happened in any other fantasy that you know of, where they like record time based on our calendars and our words? Because that was a little bit of a like, I wasn't sure about that. But like, I'll overlook it. It doesn't matter. But it just like popped out to me where I was like, that's a bit strange. So let's talk about the threshing a little bit, because oh my god, this was one of my favorite portions of the novel. I was so happy and just in love with Violet when she went to protect the golden dragon, and she knew that these evil, horrible people were going to go and kill it for no reason other than just pure hatred. And she knew that that was the wrong thing to do. She wanted to protect this dragon, and I loved her for that. I loved that even when she hurt herself and she was outnumbered and she knew that there wasn't much chance for her to win this fight, she just couldn't stand by and she had to protect this dragon. And I love that. I love that so much. She's just endearing herself to me more and more. When Xaden showed up there as well, I had the biggest grin on my face. I was like, yes, you're here. You'll see what happens and you'll be able to help. And then he wasn't able to help and I was like, oh no, that's annoying. But in a way, it allowed Violet the ability to kind of prove herself on her own. But it showed me how much I liked Xaden when he showed up, because I was like, yes, we can trust him. He will be on our side and he will do the right thing. So I'm really liking him. Also, I realized at this point how invested I was, because I was thinking in my head and I was writing notes where I was like, yes, we can trust Xaden. Xaden's going to have our back. He won't let us down. And I was like, okay, so I've totally associated myself now with Violet. I am now Violet. Violet is now me. And I'm very much in the story. I'm very much sucked in. I'm very much in the world and I'm getting emotional reactions and emotional responses to things. I'm getting scared, I'm getting excited, I'm getting giddy. It's really cool. Also, when she did finally bond with the dragons and she gets the black one, which I really wanted, and the golden one, I was so happy about that. And when she was having like the interactions with them in her head, I was like kicking my feet. I was so happy. I was giddy. I was having the best time. I loved the dragons, and the thought of being like internally bonded and connected with a majestic creature like that is so fun. And they have just really enjoyable inner thoughts and conversations. It just makes me want to know more and more and more about the dragon lore. Also, I just wrote the note, oh my god, she fell. For fuck's sake, Violet. I wrote that in my notes because I was like, oh no. But again, like it's a really nice representation of how it's difficult for her. And I love that the dragon understands that as well. Like, what's his name? Tarn? I'm not sure how to pronounce that one yet. Maybe I'll have to look it up. But The way that he knows that her ability to physically stay on does not define her, and so he'll catch her and he'll help her. I was also just really happy because I feel like Tarn and Dana are the best dragons, so I'm like, yes, we got both of the best dragons. That is what I wanted. Also, at this point, I started to get super annoyed with Dane, like genuinely so annoyed. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like she just proved herself on so many levels. She got the largest dragon and she got 2, which is totally unheard of. And he's still saying like, oh, you don't have to do this, by the way. Like, shut up, man. You're so irritating now. Be quiet. It's almost like insulting at this point. I was so annoyed by that. I do think he's being written a little bit tropey and a little bit overwhelming because I'm like, surely somebody can't be that naive and ridiculous. Like, he is supposed to be her best friend, and I don't want him to continue to just be like a foil to Xaden so that we can see how Xaden is so much better for her than Dane is because we make Dane like really unlikable. I don't like that. I much prefer when it's like she has 2 really great choices, but she knows which one is best for her. So I'm hoping that we'll develop that a little bit more. But yeah, Dane's just annoying me. Like the way that he was like, oh yeah, he wouldn't have helped. Whereas like Xaden was going to help her when she was pretty much going to die from being attacked by 3 people and she was on her own and injured. And he's all like, yeah, well, I couldn't have stepped in because that's against the rules. Grow up. Also, I laughed so much when I found out that their dragons are mated. Like, of course their dragons are mated, and now they're, like, bonded to each other as well. Of course they are. I don't care, though. I don't care that it's tropey and it's, like, predictable. It's fun. It's so good. I love it. Forced proximity for the win. When Dane did kiss her, though, and she was like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this to happen for so long, but I don't want it anymore. Ooh, things are gonna get messy there. I can definitely see that happening. I was like, oh dear, how are we going to get out of this? Because I would like for her and Dane to continue to have a good relationship. I would like for them to be able to get past it and move past it and kind of be on each other's sides, even if it's difficult and it's hard. And then she can make the choice to kind of be with Xaden. Because I think at this point, like, it's pretty clear to me that her and Xaden are a much better match and they're going to end up together. But I just don't like it when you have like the side character that is just annoying and in the way. So I'm hoping that Dane grows and develops a little bit from here. I also don't like sulky guys who, like, when they don't get their way, they're just irritating. So I'm hoping that he's not going to be that way because it'll just be hard for me to read. But yeah, I'm going to leave that second update here for now. I'm going to keep reading and I'm having so much fun. Every part of this novel is enjoyable for me and I'm really surprised at how good I'm finding it. It's really engaging, really nicely structured, great pacing, and good characters. And there's some good conversations going on here as well. So yeah, I'm having fun. I'll see you again in the next one. Okay, so I'm coming to you with another update about Fourth Wing. I have just read the part where we find out what Violet's second power is going to be, and I'm still just having the time of my life reading this. I'm so immersed. I'm having a great time. The pacing is fantastic. I just want to know what happens next constantly. There's always a question that I want to be answered. But let's go over some of my notes since my last update, shall we? So I'm really enjoying the growing bond between Xaden and Violet. I love how they are kind of in each other's heads now and they're almost like tied together. It's like that friendship out of circumstance and he obviously now needs to protect her and they're tied. So that's pretty cool. Their dragons are tied as well and I love that. I do agree with her that him saving her is pretty hot. Like, it is pretty hot. Like, I definitely question her being turned on whilst he's just murdered 6 people in front of her. That's a very odd choice, Violet. But, you know, a man who can like come protect you and take 6 guys out straight away with his fucking shadows, that's hot. So yeah, I'm on side. I'm loving Xaden so far. I think he's great. Dane is still pissing me off. He's being so annoying. Why are you like this? Why are you so whiny? It's frustrating. I kind of gave you a pass at first. I understood, but do you know what? At a certain point, you've got to let it go and let other people make their own choices. Also, what's something that I'm noticing about Violet's character that I'm really enjoying is that I feel like she never wants to kind of take the easy way out. We see more of her training with Isabel well, and she always wants to kind of figure it out and grow and help herself to be stronger. Now, I do want to talk a little bit here though about the disability rep. I know that Violet is supposed to have a certain immune condition, and when I first was reading the novel, I was like, okay, so she's got like a medical condition, then that makes sense. And I've kind of seen that it is a specific condition. I don't know the exact condition, but I'm probably going to look into it after I finish. But I want to talk a bit about the disability rep here because I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. In a way, I'm like, I love that Violet never lets things stand in her way. She's always kind of trying to create adjustments for herself and discover alternatives or not let things get her down. But at the same time, I worry that it's a little bit like, you know, this world and this place isn't built for her, really. So she just has to try harder to fit the world. Like, does that make sense? I'm not sure how I personally feel about it. I don't have the condition that Violet has, but I do suffer with chronic fatigue and also endometriosis, which does affect me and my physical body quite a lot. And so for me, I'm reading it and thinking, I do really appreciate this kind of encouragement and this understanding that you can keep going and nothing can stand in your way and you'll be able to figure it out. But at the same time, when I'm in my worst days and I can't do those things, you know, I wish that we could see a little bit more of that. I hope that we get kind of moments in this where Violet is unable to kind of keep up or her body is struggling and there are conversations about that being okay and that she is not less because of this. Like, I would appreciate that. So if anybody watching this does have any commentary on this, what do you think about it? What do you think about the disability rep in this novel and how do you find it? Do you find it inspiring? Do you find it motivating? Or do you think that it's a little bit cheap and could be harmful? I'm kind of on the fence with it so far, but we'll see. My guess of who it was at Violet's door who opened the door was Isabel, so I was quite shocked when I found out that it was Amber Mavies. I think it makes a lot of sense though, but again, Dane just, oh god, I can't stand him, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to like him because I was like, do you know what, I don't want to be a cliche and it's like, oh, the second guy, the challenge to the main love interest, I hate him and let's bash him. I wanted it to be a bit more nuanced, but do you know what, like the way that he went to grab her without her consent and just immediately was like not on her side, and it's probably because this person is a wing leader and he's all about authority. I was just like, do you know what, piss off, like I can't be dealing with that. However, what did make me so sad was Amber's dragon mourning her. I don't want to see much more of this. This breaks my absolute heart, like seeing the dragons being so devastated by their rider's death. No, thank you. I don't want to see that. There was a scene as well. I don't know why I loved it so much and it made me so happy, but it just did. And it was when they were in the classroom and Violet drops her pen and Xaden doesn't even look at her and just uses his shadows to like pick it up and put it back on her desk. That was so cute. Oh, I loved that. How sweet. He doesn't even have to be like fully paying attention to her to be thinking about her, and is just going to do this little subtle thing to just make her life a little bit easier. That's love right there. That right there is real care. Like when you don't have to do all these big flashy things. It's just, oh, I've noticed that you've dropped your pen. Let me get that for you. That was very nice. And also his power of just shadow wielding is really cool. Having the dragons in her head just makes this novel infinitely better. I love it so much. It's so great having like dragon thoughts because I've never really experienced a novel with that. It's fun. Like at times I'm a bit like, surely dragons would be a bit more majestic and otherworldly and smart than they are. They're a bit smarky and sweet and just kind of like normal humans, but I'm fine with it. Like I just love dragons, so that's okay. Also, I realized that I never talked about the power that she developed from Andana and this kind of conversation about how Andana can't actually give her a signet. She instead has kind of let her borrow her power, but it really drains her. I really hope this doesn't come back into play one day in the future because I love Andana and she needs to be protected. She's so sweet. And what a cool power as well, though. That's great. Like being able to stop time for a few seconds. That would come in very handy. But I just hope that Violet doesn't use it. I don't think that she will. I think Andana is very clear on why she's picked Violet. But yeah, I just hope that nothing happens to Andana because what a little sweetie. Okay, we came across the first part of the novel where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I really don't know. And that was when Violet and Xaden's dragons... How can I even talk about it? Violet and Xaden's dragons are getting freaky, and it wakes her up, and she is just so overwhelmed with horniness from her dragons getting down that she is like desperately needing to get rid of the feeling. And she starts kind of like looking at Liam, and he's like, why are you looking at me like that? And then she goes out and she finds Zayn, and they end up making out. And I was like, oh my God, you're not telling me that the first time they make out is because they're like influenced by animals that they're connected with having sex, are you? This wasn't the one. We're going to move on. I'm going to ignore this bit. We're going to move on. However, what I will say is that I very much believe Violet and Xaden's attraction to one another. It makes sense to me. I think that they're good challenges for each other. They are kind of foils to each other whilst being respected by each other, and obviously they're both hot, so, leads to attraction. They're both young as well. So I very much buy into it. I am on board for their attraction to one another, and I see it. It all makes sense to me. Also, can we talk about how much I literally hate the nickname that he has for her? Like, he calls her Violence instead of Violet, which is just the worst nickname ever. I hate it. I don't like it. I'm very much looking forward to Violet kind of learning how to deal with her power, though. That's super cool. I felt like she would get a really cool power, and she is going to be really good at controlling it. If her experience with grounding and how she's able to kind of control that side of herself so well is any indicator, I think that what's going to give her the edge over other people is obviously having a giant dragon and also being able to control her power so much. So I hope that we kind of see how that balances out, and maybe she is able to have weaknesses in some ways and then strengths in others, because so far she's kind of like, she's able to figure things out quite well, and we don't really see any. Like, I want to see a bit more of her, like, physical struggles. I would like to see that more. When we found out that Indana was just a baby, I was like, oh my goodness, no, you shouldn't be here. Why did anyone let you join? Like, I know that you're not really able to tell dragons what to do and anything, but no, like, she's just a baby. She's just a baby. We have to take care of her. I don't know what the point of all the hidden information from the scroll was. So, like, clearly they're keeping secrets. I think that was a bit obvious from the beginning that something isn't quite right in their society, and, like, they're probably not being honest. But I don't know what yet. I'm not quite sure. I guess we'll find out. Also, I don't think I've talked about this yet, but I really enjoy the kind of casual inclusion of diversity in this novel. Like, I feel like a lot of the time it's so ham-fisted that it feels almost disrespectful. Like, it doesn't feel like it's well done. Whereas in this novel, I actually do think it's quite well done. It's just kind of commented upon, like, in passing. It's not people coming out and saying, oh yeah, I'm gay, by the way, or I'm trans, by the way, or like loads of descriptions about skin color. It's more just, casually mentioned. Like, there's one character that has they, them pronouns, and it's never even explained. Like, they are just referred to as they, them, and I love that. And again, it's just with Rhiannon, it's just kind of like, oh, she's just come out with a thing with Tara. Oh, and now she's come out with a guy. So you're like, okay, so she's bisexual. Cool. Like, I really like that. I enjoy the representation. And obviously, again, with the signing character that we had as well, it was just, they went in and this character signs. It's really refreshing to have that, to be honest. I think that in a fantasy series particularly, it's great to have the representation just be a normal part of the world. I really enjoy that. Now, when Dane came and finally apologized and seems to listen to what she's saying, I very much appreciated that, because, like I say, I want him to be a two-dimensional character. I don't want him to just be this one-sided foil to the love interest. I want to see more of him, so I'm really hoping that this sticks up and he just respects Violet more and her decisions and takes accountability for his own behaviors. I really want to see that, because that way I feel like Xaden is going to win because he's right for her and not by default, I was so annoyed when she didn't kill Jack with the oranges. Like, why save him? I know you're supposed to be a morally good character and stuff, but I'm not being funny. At this point, it's morally better to kill him and prevent him from killing all of these other bloody people instead of leaving him alive to cause whatever havoc he's going to cause because you personally don't want to kill. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy in this and other people are like, well, it's going to change the soul to kill, but I'm like, that's way more selfish than being like, do you know what, I have a chance to take out this threat. This is a school where apparently everybody can die, because why not? Nobody really needs troops, right? But it's fine. But at the same time, I'm like, he is killed and hurt and caused so many problems to so many people, and you have this opportunity to take him out right here. Why didn't you just do it, Violet? That annoyed me. Also, can I just say how cute Liam is? I love Liam. He's my favourite. I think him and Rhiannon so far are my favourite characters. I love Liam so much. His cute little carvings of the dragons and the way they came and gave her a carving of Tarn. Tarn. Gave her a carving of Tarn. It was so cute. Oh, I love him. How sweet. I will say though, I am still quite lost on like the lore and the history of the world, like the war and why they're fighting and what the problem is. Like, I don't really get what's going on there. I don't think it's been explored too well. I'm a bit lost, and I think what I kind of understand from it is that one side has dragons, one side has griffins. Did the griffins want to take land or resources? I don't really get what's going on there, to be honest. Okay, so I think we'll leave it there for our next update, and I will come back to you again when I have read some more. I haven't got too much left to go now, so yeah, I'm looking forward to how it ends.
Have another drink, babe. Come back and exchange. Hop on another train. Place the bets and wait. Western is burning.
So that was the final clip that I filmed throughout the reading process of Fourth Wing. And now I'm going to kind of go over what I thought about the rest of the novel, what I thought about the ending and my overall feelings. I just want to say that after finishing this novel, nothing really changed too much from the entire process. I still really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole process of reading this. I definitely think towards the end there were a couple of things that I had a few issues with, but overall it was just such a fun time. I was totally immersed in the world throughout reading the entire thing. It really made me feel giddy and young and like I was just reading for fun and for pleasure again, really fast paced and just moving along, wanting to know what happened and just enjoying myself so much. I'm gonna just give a little bit of like a chronological update on how I felt throughout the rest of this book after my last update so that you can kind of see my thoughts as I noted them down without being influenced by the entire ending. So we're gonna go through all those notes now. The first thing that I noted was that I was really interested and wanting to know what Violet's signet was, and every chapter that we didn't find out and she was taking quite a while to be able to develop it, I was getting more and more impatient. I was like, I really want to know what it's going to be because like, come on, she's got one of the most powerful dragons and that should really signify how powerful her signet is going to be. I was super excited to find out what that was. But throughout this next part of the novel, I was really enjoying kind of the growing dynamic between Violet and Xaden. I think that following the last part when I updated you, I was enjoying them, but it was after this that I really started getting on board with their romance. I loved all of their interactions in each other's heads and how they could kind of talk to each other. I found Xaden to be quite cheeky and just arrogant, but in a fun way almost. I'm also really interested to know how they're going to manage moving forward because obviously their dragons are bonded, they can't be separated. So how are they going to do that when Violet is still at the school and Xaden is being deployed to one of the front lines, I guess, one of the posts, because they say that his dragon is so powerful that he's going to be needed. But at the same time, I liked that commentary on how Violet still needs to learn. She still needs to be at the school. So like, how is that going to work? Because she can't just be taken onto the front lines before she's even been trained. I really enjoyed when we went to that outpost and we saw Mira again. I loved kind of that part of their training, I thought it was really interesting kind of seeing how they would be and how like reality is. It was almost like a work experience day, which was fun. But I loved seeing Mira again, and I'm so glad that Violet was able to see her again. I really do enjoy their bond as siblings. I think that it's very clear how much they love each other and how protective they are of each other, and that's really nice. But when Xaden showed up at the work experience day because his dragon was insisting that he go there, I thought that was really fun, and how we just kind of like got involved in all of that. It's just one of those things, I think, this book, where it kind of has that like fan servicey feeling, but I don't mean that in a negative. I think that sometimes fan service can feel like it's just shoehorned in because that's what the fans want, and it doesn't actually make sense plot wise. Whereas with this, it was like fan servicey in a way that really made sense. It's like, well, you know, I want to see more of the dragons, so we get more of the dragons, and I want to see more of Violet and Xaden and their snark and how they're gonna like come together and deal with their attraction to each other, and we got that. So I really enjoyed that. I also noted here that when seeing Mira, I was so happy to see her, and I just was so sad that Brennan was dead because I wanted to know so much more about the siblings and about Brennan. He just seemed like a really cool person, and I loved his signet power and everything. So I was just really sad, and I noted down I wish Brennan was still here so that we could see the interaction between the three siblings. Well, I also just really enjoyed, like I said, this developing romance between the two of them. How Violet knew that she didn't really know much about Xaden and who he was, so she just kept asking him these random questions, and he was like, why are you asking me all these questions? But she just kind of wanted to get to know him a bit more. I like how they could interact within their own heads. It was fun, just how they had this kind of thing just between the two of them. And I was happy when Xaden finally admitted that like he couldn't stop thinking about her, because I just really enjoy when we have characters that are upfront about their emotions and don't just try to hide it, and you spend an entire novel with them just not saying how they really feel and all the miscommunication. That's one of my least favorite tropes, and I found that this novel didn't have too much of that. Like, we had a lot of people and characters being very upfront about their feelings. There was a little bit of like miscommunication, but not to a point that was annoying. Like when Xaden just outright said, you know, I can't stop thinking about you. It's like, thank you for being honest and just putting that out there. It's very refreshing. When they competed in that trial with their dragons and Jack did what he did to Liam, I was so pissed off with Violet. I know I shouldn't be, but I really was, because again, in my last update, I was like, why didn't you just kill him? Like, he is a threat to everyone and he should be taken out. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for the death penalty, but what I'm saying is that in this fantasy world, when you have a psychopath running around just trying to meaninglessly kill people for no reason whatsoever, you should take that person out. And I was so annoyed when this happened, because I was like, if Liam dies, I will riot. I love Liam so much. Again. But in this moment, I was like, I love Liam so much. I don't want him to die. And if Jack has killed him here, I'm going to be really annoyed at Violet for her like moral high ground, which I don't actually think is a moral high ground. But luckily, Liam was okay. And Violet did finally take the plunge and take him out. A little bit too late, but that's okay. She got there in the end when she was like rushing towards him and screamed, and the lightning came out, and that end of chapter when it just said lightning wielder. How badass is that? I loved it so much. Again, I feel like with some people that might read this, they might find this a bit of an eye roll. Like, they might think, oh, it's just kind of a bit cliche, it's giving you exactly what you want. But I think if you go into this not expecting the most complex, intricate plot lines, and you just want to have a fun time and you just want to be given what you want and have badass dragons and badass powers and characters that are just into each other and not afraid to say it, then you're going to have such a good time, because I really did. I said it in my Goodreads update as well, but I don't think that you need to take everything so seriously. Sometimes things are just fun. Sometimes things are just a good time. And this is what this novel was for me. When Violet and Xaden finally got together, I was on board with this. I definitely have a hard time reading like really graphic smut scenes in novels, because I just find it really like shocking outside of fan fiction, because like I say, I haven't really been reading much in more contemporary fiction. So to me, it's like, oh, you only really read like smut in fan fiction or in those kind of like obscure, hot, sexy romance novels about like werewolves and stuff like that. But I know it's become much more common, and sometimes I find it hard. And I think what I'm realizing is maybe I find it hard if I'm not invested in a couple, because in this one, at this point, I felt like there was enough build up, there was enough history and kind of flirtation between the two main characters that when they did get together, I bought into it. I was on board with it. It was hot, it was enjoyable, and I like how their powers were kind of incorporated. But yeah, so all in all, this smut scene was not bad for me. I enjoyed it. I was on board for it. Once again though, it being so refreshing for me that she was just communicating her feelings, and how Xaden was just like, oh well, you know, we can just keep it casual, it doesn't have to have any emotions. And Violet just straight up said, I don't think I can do that. Like, it's not going to happen for me that way. If this continues between us in a physical way, then I'm going to catch feelings and it's going to become emotional. And I don't want to go through with that if you're just seeing it as one thing. And I appreciated, again, that she was just straight up like, yeah, this is how I feel about it. I feel like, especially in young girls in fiction, there's so much of like, oh, well, I don't want to say what I think because then I might lose this person. But Violet seems to really know who she is and know what she wants and will say that. I respect that about her. I wanted to talk a little bit about the rebel children as well, because I've kind of alluded to them throughout and how I don't really understand how they're here. But I think that I'm really endeared towards all these rebel children. And, you know, it's one of those things where if you have outcasts, if you have underdogs and people that are being subjugated by a system, I'm always going to immediately warm to them and want to be on their side because it doesn't seem fair. But I definitely think as we learn more and more about the rebel children, they just seem like really good, decent people and capable people. And so it becomes even more unfair. However, what I will say is that I feel like this was a little bit too black and white for me, because we're so invested in so many of the rebel kids and we don't really see any of the other kids apart from maybe Dane, who obviously we're kind of rooting against because he's been kind of the worst. So I wish that we had a little bit more nuance. At the minute I feel like, well, of course we're going to be on the rebel children's side because there's not really anybody to root for on the other side. Like, we have Rhiannon, but Rhiannon and some of the other kids, like, we don't see them that much. So I hope that we get a bit more about the nuance between the two sides and some of the kids that are caught by duty and not being told all the information. So I hope that we get a little bit more of that moving forward. I also just kept loving Liam so much. I found him to be so selfless and caring and sweet. He just continued to be my favorite. The way that he went with Violet and stayed by her side throughout the whole procession of the king coming and her mother being there, even though all the other rebel children didn't show up because it was dangerous for them. But Liam was just so committed to keeping Violet safe and to what he owed to Xaden that he went anyway, and I just found that so brave and caring. Now let's talk a little bit about the scene on the parapet between Violet and Xaden when she goes to find him. I feel in two minds about this, and I think this was where one of my main problems with the novel came up. And that's not to say that it pulled it down for me, because it did not. But what I will say is, part of me really enjoyed, once again, how Violet was so out there with her feelings. She was like, I've been brave up until this point. I'm going to keep being brave. I'm going to tell him exactly how I feel. And she goes to him and she says, I want to be with you. I love you. All of these things. And she just puts herself out there without fear of what could possibly go wrong. She just wants to say how she feels, and she does. I really enjoy that. However, what I will say is, I don't feel like this is earned for me yet. I think that I was totally on board with the fact that they were attracted to each other, they wanted to spend more time with each other, they couldn't stop thinking about each other, and things got physical between them. But moving from that into love felt a bit too rushed for me, because they still don't really know each other. Like, she's only asked him a few basic questions about himself. She doesn't know him as a person. They haven't spent much time together in an intimate way. So jumping from the attraction to love just felt a little bit quick. It seemed like straight away it was like, okay, we should be together forever. We should be this pairing. We should bond. We should tell each other everything, and we're in love now. And I just would have liked that to come a bit later. I think that the joy in a romance is that you have that initial spark, then you have the build up where they kind of realize that they're attracted to each other and they like each other. Then maybe they get together, or maybe they don't, but then they start slowly over time building a more intimate love between them, and that's kind of the next stage, whereas I feel like we kind of bypassed that stage and went straight from one to the next. So I would have liked that to have been drawn out a little bit more. I was definitely suspicious about the final war games because things just didn't really add up. It just seemed a bit sus, and I was like, why are they being sent so far away from everybody else? It just doesn't really make sense, and also to such a dangerous place. And so I had my eye out for that. Once again, I just hate the nickname violence. I think it's really lame. I wish that that wasn't in here. every time it's said, I'm like, oh God, I hate it. So when we had the big twist at the end about the venom being real and the war kind of not being what they're telling us it is, I wasn't too surprised because we had those fables and the folk tales mythology from Violet's father about the venom and how he kind of seemed to want her to know about it, but it wasn't common knowledge and nobody else seemed to know about this book. I was pretty sure that the venom were going to be real and that she was going to need to know about it. But the thing that did surprise me was how the leaders of Navarre were keeping this a secret from everybody and were basically framing it as if the Griffins were their enemies. So I just don't really get this. Like, why are they trying to hoard all the resources and not help the Griffin Riders when I feel like if they teamed up, it would be easier? I mean, I get that it's kind of like they want to keep all of their boundaries and their borders to themselves because the venom cannot actually enter Navarre, but just the kind of insidiousness of keeping it to themselves and twisting the narrative of the rebels who were actually trying to save other people outside of their own realm was definitely unexpected. I mean, I didn't like any of the leaders, so it kind of makes sense. But again, this is a little bit too on the nose for me because you have like good and evil, basically. We don't really have any people on the side of Navarre that are like really good people, except the people that seem to not have any information. But I don't know, like, does Mira know anything about this? I'd be interested to know about that. And I want to know more about Violet's mother as well, because she's just kind of an enigma right now. What is going on? Why did they make these choices? I do think that a lot of the questions on the world and the war was one of the weaker points of this novel because I wasn't ever really sure what was going on, and I'm still not totally sure what's going on. I want a bit more history into the background of like how this has all come to be and how they've managed to keep things secret from everyone. So like, why are the venom attacking? What do they want? When did the war start? How do the riders not know about this, or do they know about it and they're just kind of sworn to secrecy and they're deciding to continue with the cause? I also am interested in like what the dragons know, because it seemed like Ten and Andana did know about this and they were aware of it, but how much do they know? Why are they on the side of Navarre then? I know that their eggs are there and they want to protect those, but it also seems like they want to help the Griffin Riders. They went against it. They were on the side of the rebels, or at least Ten was, and he brought Violet there knowingly. So how much do they know, and what are their stakes in this war and in this fight? I'm quite muddy on all of this, so I don't know if it's a fault of this novel or if it's something that I will learn more about moving forward. But yeah, I definitely want some more questions answered regarding the war and the different nations and how all of this came to be. This definitely seemed though like a trap for the rebel children to take them out because they're all aware of what's going on and what their parents were fighting for. Again, kind of strange to me to allow them to become riders, if this is the case. I mean, it was clearly a setup, and the fact that Dane let Violet go to this setup where he knew it was a trap and it was designed to kill them all because she decided to be with Xaden and not with him. Trash, trash, trash. Trash. I was so on board with like wanting the secondary romance option to not just be a terrible person, and I appreciated that he came up and kind of apologized, and I wanted more of that, but no, he's totally on my shit list now. He is not coming back from that. How could you do that to your best friend that you've known your entire life purely because she chose someone else? How selfish can you be? Like, you're literally sending her to her death and saying goodbye knowing where she's going and not warning her. You are a terrible human. I hate Dane. I feel like he's probably going to end up being one of the main antagonists because he must want to become a general and fight against them. I don't know. He's just the worst. What is going to happen next though? Do they go back to the school? Because I assume they wouldn't be able to, right? Because this whole point was to try and kill them. And Violet went with them. So she's clearly going to know now about what's going on. So what's going to happen next? I mean, are they going to return to the school? And if so, like, how are they going to return to the school? I don't understand this. I will be sad if that happens though, because I love a school setting and I don't feel like we got enough of the actual school in this. So I want more of the school. This final fight between them and the venom and them trying to save the Griffin Riders and the civilians was brutal. I really respected and appreciated that they couldn't just let these civilians die and they had to do something about it. I think that that's honorable and noble. I was so sad here as well, as you've probably guessed. Liam's death really hurt me. He was my favorite. I was so sad. And how How rude, Rebecca Yarros, to have him almost die, have us be totally relieved that he survived, and then kill him in the final battle. I was super annoyed about this. I was so sad to see Liam go. I loved Liam and Dee as well. I was sad. It was just really devastating. And the dragons. Oh, the dragons. But yeah, just that scene with Liam's dragon dying and then him knowing that he was going to go too, but all he wanted was to be with his dragon. It's really telling me so much about the bonds between them. It was just heartbreaking. I was so upset with this. It felt so out of the blue though. Like we didn't even know about any of this going on until like 2 seconds ago. And then all of a sudden there's this huge battle and Liam's dead. And I just was like, what is going on here? And Violet, she did such a great job in this with her powers and everything, but I just felt so sorry for her because she clearly wasn't ready to be in a fight like this. Like she needs more training, she needs more time, and the way that she just kept failing and wasn't able to hit the Venin and their creatures with her lightning because she didn't know how to properly wield yet. Oh, that was just really frustrating, and I know that she must have felt so sad and frustrated by it as well. And Dana catching Violet even though she can't even fly with her. I just wrote a note saying, my brave little angel. I love Andana. I was really shocked when we had a Xaden POV at the end. That was quite surprising. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? Where are we? And why do we have a Xaden POV? That was crazy. It was really interesting. I was very skeptical of the fact that like he started thinking about her sexually when she was like basically recovering from death. These are the moments when I'm like, okay, that's a bit far. I want it to still feel realistic. And realistic is like, oh my god, I want you to get better. I need to make sure you're okay. Thank God you're alive. Not like, let me think about you sexually. That's just a bit odd, bit of an odd choice. I need to know what happened to Andana as well, because they said that she's like huge now. How does that even happen? What, do dragons just like one day they mature and they just grow? What color is she? Like, what's happened to her? I need to find her and know what's happened with that. And finally, the big shock plot twist at the end of this novel. Brennan is alive. Ugh. I did not see this coming. I really wanted it to be true because like I said at the beginning of this update, I was like, I wish that Brennan was still here. I really like the sound of him and I want to know him more and I wish he was still alive. But I didn't actually think he was gonna be. So again, I'm getting what I want. I love that. I'm very interested to know what has happened to Brennan. Why has he turned sides? Why has he pretended to be dead this whole time? Because that's a really difficult thing to put your family through. Like, didn't Violet's dad die from grief? I mean, that's sus as well, to be honest. I don't know if that's actually true. But it happened after Brennan's death, unless like he knew that he was still alive and that's why they killed him. I don't know. But Violet as well, and Mira, if she doesn't know about this, like he's put his family through a lot. So that's quite shocking. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Xaden here because there was quite a few debates at the end of this that again kind of made me go, I don't know how I feel about this. Because like I said, I wasn't sure about them going immediately to in love, to life companions. And when Violet found out a few things about the rebels and the rebel children that she didn't know before, how they were working with the Griffin Riders and he hadn't been honest, she got like really mad at Xaden and was like, you haven't told me these things. I can't trust you. You've betrayed me. And I was a bit like, Violet, calm down. Like, first of all, you've decided that you're in love with each other and you're like each other's soulmates and everything, but you haven't actually known each other that long. You've only just kind of got together in a physical way. It's not gotten deep yet. And so the fact that you expect him to give up his entire life's mission of keeping these people safe, like it is literally up to him for every single rebel child to live and to thrive, and he's still working with the resistance. So like, why on earth would he tell you that? Even if he trusts you, like it is way too risky at this point. He does not have confidence that he can come to you with this yet. Like I feel like that will take a lot longer. And I mean, look at what happened with Dane. He pulled it from your head. Xaden also knows that he's able to do this, and so even the small thing that he told you about has basically doomed all of them. So of course he's not going to give away the secret to you, girl. Like, come on now. You can't expect that. That's a little bit immature, to be honest. However, what I will say, the fact that he kept Brennan's death to himself, that one would make me mad. I wouldn't be mad at Xaden for trying to protect his people and trying to keep things a secret that they have been holding to themselves for such a long time. But knowing that my dead brother is actually alive and not telling me that whilst we are getting together and like becoming intimate with each other, oof. Yeah, I'd be super pissed about this. So I'm assuming that she's going to be quite annoyed about this in the next novel. I just need to know more though. I need to know more. So that was my end thoughts of Fourth Wing. That was the end of the novel. And what I will say again, just to wrap this up, I feel like this is already quite a long video, but to wrap this up, I had such a fun time with Fourth Wing. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it was totally for me. I am one of the girlies. I am one of the Romantasy Fourth Wing, give me dragons people. It worked for me. It was a super fun time. There were times that I wasn't sure about things. There were things that I think could be improved on, and there were certain tropes and issues put out there that I found kind of frustrating, but all in all, it was just so fun, so readable, and I ended up immediately ordering the second one in the series because I needed to know what happened. I need to know why Brennan is alive. I need more about this war, and I need to know more about the dragons and the dragon lore. I will say though, like, I don't want it to just immediately go into kind of like a rebellion against good versus evil, and they're just going to do loads of fighting between the two sides. I want more about the school. I want more kind of like underhand shenanigans of them trying to bring down the empire, and I hope that we don't have too much of this like, we are so in love with each other now, because it kind of takes the spark and the fun out of a romance. So I don't know what to expect from the second book. It's bigger. It's very big, this book. So let me know if I should continue the series. I probably will anyway, but would you like me to continue the series? And if I do, would you like me to do another reading vlog whilst I get through book 2 in the series? Does it get better from here? Does it get worse from here? What do you think? Like, do you think that the sequels live up to the first book? Because for me, I really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was fun, it was great pacing, and it was just a good old time. Now, my rating for the novel, that's backwards, was a 4.5 out of 5, which is very high, actually. I didn't give this a 5 because there were a few things in here that I think needed to be tweaked a bit more. Even though I don't want to give it too much of a hard time, I also do think that this is written for an adult audience, so I do think there were certain things that Rebecca Yarros could have improved upon in terms of the world, the history, and maybe some of the character interactions. But overall, it was great. I had a blast. I'm going to really enjoy continuing the series. And what more can you want? Dragons, fun times, fast pace. It was great. Now, let's just say a sad, sad farewell to Liam because he was one of the best parts of this novel. I'm going to really miss him. That sucks. But I'm interested to know where we're going to go from here. Now, that is going to be the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed the journey with me and enjoyed all my spoiler-filled thoughts of Fourth Wing. Please like this video. Give me a comment on your thoughts about Fourth Wing. Have you ever read any Romantasy before? Are you interested in it? Do you think it's a pile of garbage? Let me know. I want to know everything because I think that Fourth Wing, you have to go into it not expecting a literary masterpiece and just kind of wanting a fun time. That's how I felt about it, and I enjoyed it. I did find it a fun time. Please let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of me, and let me know, should I do that second reading vlog? The second and the third book are already out. I think it's going to be 5. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you soon. Have a lovely rest of your day.